And our first speaker tonight is Jim Frazier. He's a business development manager here at Quardev, and he'll be talking about how companies are opening up.
Yeah, so hi everybody. Oftentimes we'll do one of these and I don't think that everybody has a good feel for what it is we do internally here. So you met Cindy as a part of our recruiting team. I'm part of the business development team, and I've been doing this job in the Seattle market primarily for about 20 years. So I'm kind of on the client-facing side. So I'll spend most of my time trying to understand what the strategic initiatives are, doing the initial scoping, and we kind of go down two paths anytime we engage. One might be the managed service path, where we're going to bring a full team and a little bit more methodology and process with us. The other path might be the individual contributor. So if it looks like it's a project that we will have a team in our lab or on the client side, then we'll start bringing our technical leads like Park Blake in. He'll assign a lead to the project. And I guess the big differentiator is, are we owning it and managing it, or is the client owning it and managing it? And there's not a really sharp line in the sand on that, because oftentimes it'll be a little bit more collaborative, but that's what I do. As a part of that and being client facing, I've really been tracking how people are planning, if people are planning, their reopening processes. And I thought I would just share some of the stories about the way that different clients are managing that, because I get to see a few and they're a little bit different. So it's interesting, it's dynamic. Generally speaking, folks are trying to adhere to the CDC guidelines, but that's a moving target too. So that's kind of hard to do. But just as kind of an example of some of the things that folks are doing, and this is encouraging because for some time, there wasn't a lot of this effort at all. People were trying to figure out how to cope with the remote working aspect, and they weren't really thinking about a structured plan on what that reopening looked like. And then little by little, I started to see folks pop up and actually have a formalized plan that they're sharing. So the first one of those is with one of our clients who is in the entertainment business. Or I guess I won't say who they are, but you'll probably get an idea. They have a full guidebook for contractors and contingency workers, and have they have a pretty good structure around what their expectations are. And it's a lot of the stuff that you have heard before: wearing a mask, washing your hands, completing a health check, which I thought was interesting, avoid touching your face, distancing, disinfect the area, wear your ID. I thought that was an interesting one. And then just avoiding contact with those that may be ill. They'll actually, in the event that you need to be on site, you will be required to sign an attestation form that runs right down and says, yes, I've taken my temperature. They'll ask you, do you have any of these symptoms? And this is every day that you might be there. The good news is they'll actually supply you with these kits to make sure that you're in compliance with their processes as they go back to work. And the good news and the encouraging thing is that people are definitely thinking about this and figuring out the safest way to bring people back on board, and not just kind of wallowing in this, oh gosh, I can't I can't go into the office. Couple of other examples. Customer in the apparel business is really supply chain. They've got 8 warehouses across the country, excuse me. One of the things that they did that I thought was interesting is they didn't want to lay anybody off. Anybody that was on salary took a 25% pay cut in order for them not to lay anybody off. And they were able to retool some of their manufacturing and ended up with, I think it was a 500,000 mask contract with the government. And they've since taken the 25% pay hit away. People are happy about that, but people were also happy that they didn't end up laying folks off, which was great. Another customer in the gaming business, their first thing was just nobody on site. and that was a little tricky. Fortunately, these folks were very Zoom friendly even prior to the virus. So it was pretty easy for them to do that and roll into being able to conduct most of their work via Zoom. Interesting point, and this is not unique to these guys. What I have found with a lot of folks is that there is a hiring freeze, but if you're fortunate enough to be engaged, whether you're on contract and you have a statement of work written up about what you're doing, or whether you're full-time, these positions are good as gold, and you certainly want to hold on to them because they have a fairly easy time extending these out. They have a very difficult time requesting any funding for additional full-time workers or people on contract or project work. So just be aware. Same thing, I have a transportation company that was pretty much follows that same pattern of hiring freeze, but if you're in there, again, good as gold, hold on to that job because they will likely have funding for that long term. We work with another custom development shop. They have projects stacked up. Again, huge pent up demand. It's hard for them to move forward with some of their clients, primarily healthcare clients. But I certainly see as the dam starts to break here, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and people are really thinking seriously about how and what they're going to do when that happens. I kind of look back to 07, 08, and even .com where when companies did not have a lot of money, they got really serious about figuring out how they were going to spend effectively and efficiently when they did come back online, because it was going to be time to ramp quickly. Another educational software company, of course, golden place to be right now because there's going to be a huge requirement for that. And again, they're trying to figure out what the magic is to get folks back on site, because in this instance, it is a requirement to be there for some of these things. And then on our part, we have developed a safe work plan. I think we've mentioned that we do have a lab in the basement, but we have some very specific steps about maintaining physical distance, no more than 5 people in a room at any particular point in time. We do have a self-certified policy as well, make sure that everybody's safe and healthy. But like the other folks, we have a structure and we understand that it is dynamic and it's absolutely going to change. But at least we want to start to put those pieces in place and be prepared for the opening when it happens. So I am very actively staying in touch with all of these folks to kind of see how it looks for them. And there certainly are signs of hope. But again, it is pretty dynamic. So we're checking in regularly to see what those policies are, what the practices are, and how we can best adhere to them. Most of the folks have kind of come to the realization that it is not going to be the same, and that there really is not a requirement to have a body in a chair on site to be productive. And this, most folks say they absolutely do not see going back to the old way. There's just not a lot of value in that. So it will be a hybrid model, and there will be a lot more opportunity for remote work. And I guess the question is there for managers, how do you set those metrics in place to make sure that your folks are being productive? But I think it's been a good kind of shot in the arm for folks to realize that people are very productive remotely. It's just going to be a slightly different model going forward. So definitely signs of hope out there. And I will keep my finger on the pulse to see what people are doing. But I would absolutely say get used to doing some more remote, both interviews, management, and then just everyday productivity. So that's what I've got for us.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.